On the ONS podcast, we are honored to have Bryant Mitchell. He is a wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we go through a lot of topics in this conversation. We start with, what got him into football, all the way through to the CFL, and then finally the pinnacle of his career, the NFL, and what it took to get there. We talk about diet, nutrition, training, and everything in between. Please enjoy this podcast with Bryant Mitchell. Bryant, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So we're going to just start from the very beginning. What got you into football?
For the most part, I would say, playing in the street as a kid. I had some friends who, were really good, but playing in the street and just seeing how good I was in the street, I think that got me like, man, I really want to do this. And
do you remember the first time you touched a football? Like the first time you actually played a game? Do you remember how old you were?
Probably, let's say 10.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Flag football.
Okay, flag football.
So playing in the street. And one of the coaches from one of the Pop Warner teams actually lived on my street. And so, we weren't the richest kids in the world. So I'm playing football in some Payless boots, almost like some army boots. And I'm just outrunning all the kids on the street. And he comes up to me and he goes, "Do you play?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "You should play. You should come play for me." And I'm like, I don't think my mom can afford that, But from that moment, it was kind of like, maybe I can do this, So I think that kind of got me started in it. But the whole NFL point of it, I think I was probably 5 or 6 when I first was like, man, I want to, play professional football.
Yeah. That young, you were saying that?
Yeah, because my mom knew a guy who actually played for the Jets.
Okay.
So she and him were, together for a little bit, and I think that kind of got me he was a big buff dude. He's probably not that big now.
Well, not compared to you now,
right? But at 5 or 6, you're like, woo, this dude's huge.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, not just for people that don't know, because I know they can't tell because you're sitting, you're 6'2" and $195 wide receiver,
right?
Yeah.
So you think about that.
Yeah,
though. He was probably, I don't know, maybe 6 foot. 215, 225,
yeah,
ish. And I was just always man, I always wanted to be the big buff guy, right? And he played for the Jets, so I think that those
So you were introduced to professional football at a pretty young age.
Yes.
And the idea that it was something that you could do.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I thought you can go to the NFL right out of high school. I'm telling you, I did.
Yeah.
I was telling everyone, you know what? I'm not even going to college. I'm just going to go
straight to the NFL.
Man, I learned quick.
Yeah.
I could imagine being, 18 years old trying to play against some of these guys.
Yeah. No, there's no way. There's no way. No. It's hard enough to come out of college into the NFL. Coming out of high school? No way.
Out of high school.
Yeah.
And I was 155 leaving high school. So
you had some time to put in, some weight to put on.
A whole lot.
Yeah. So did you start off with Pop Warner? When did you start actually playing within an organized sports situation?
I didn't start until I started in flag.
Okay.
So I never played Pop Warner.
Really?
Yeah, never.
Is there a certain reason why?
So I blame my mom to this day. So we had a event with our church where they took all the kids to Soak City, which is kind of Wet and Wild. I don't know if you guys
so an amusement park.
Yeah,
water park.
Amusement water park.
Okay.
And so I was the only one that wasn't going to go. Football signups for that day. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going. I'm going to football signups. So I have my social security card. They needed your social, your picture, your birth certificate, and all of that. And my mom puts it on the table and she goes, "Hey, don't forget that stuff. We're going down there. Don't forget it." I'm all right. So I get to playing with because I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. So I get to playing with my brothers. And like I said, they're all going to Soak City. So we jump in the car. Mind you, she told me don't forget the paperwork on the table. So we jump in the car. We drive down to the place to sign up. And she's like, "Did you grab that stuff?" And I'm looking at her no. She's like, "Okay, so do you want to go back home and get the paperwork, or do you want to go to Soak City?"
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm 11, 12 years old. What kind of question is that?
You want to go to Soak City.
I want to go to Soak City, right? So at this point, it's like, you know what? Let's just go to Soak City. So I never, ever got the opportunity to play Pop Warner. Yeah. That was like the only time she could afford it.
Okay.
Only time, like,
yeah.
it was
Couldn't go back tomorrow?
No.
Dang.
Sign-ups for, like, Pop Warner back then, kids were playing left and right. So it's like teams filled up fast, and I had I call them my cousins, but two friends who were playing, and they were the ones who told me, like, because that coach had told my mom that I should play. I think a year went by after that, and they were playing for the team that he told me to play for. So eventually she was like, you know what? She didn't want me to play originally, but she was like, you know what? They're playing, you can play. Me personally forgot the papers. so I played flag football for about a good 5 years.
Okay.
Until high school.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
crazy. Yeah.
Flag football.
Yeah.
That's different.
Way different.
I mean, there's no pads in flag football.
No.
So then you started freshman year. You jumped right into. Did you always start at wide receiver?
No, man.
No?
I played corner.
Okay.
So I didn't start playing.
Interchangeable.
Right. I didn't start playing receiver until junior year of high school. And so freshman year I played corner, and man, so they tried to put me at receiver.
Okay.
And I ran a slant route the first practice, and that ball came so fast, I was like, oh no, this is not for me.
Yeah.
So
you want to protect the guy.
Yeah. Hey, you're good.
Yeah.
So they moved me over to the side, and I was good. They were like, hey, you can play over here.
Right. So you've got the height, you got the speed.
Oh, no, I was 5'4" freshman year.
Okay. When did you get your height?
Sophomore to junior year, had the worst growing pains in America.
Yeah.
Like, felt like someone's like ripping my stomach apart. It's so bad. My mom was like, are you okay? What have you been doing? I'm like, look, I haven't been doing anything. But it felt like someone was like tearing
literally
my
just
stomach
pulling
apart. And like I stayed home for a week.
Dang.
It was like that bad.
That sucks. That sounds terrible.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So 5'4" freshman, playing corner, I loved it too. To this day, like my oldest son's mom says, she thinks I should have played corner, just because I like to hit. I'm an aggressive person. So I was like, and I could have seen myself playing corner. I actually had a coach in college who said that same thing.
You're built for it. I mean, you're built for the wide receiver position as well. I mean, they're, like I said, they're interchangeable, but yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. It served you well to be a wide receiver as well. So I think you're good.
I always tell people, had I played corner, I'd be a first-round draft pick. So
yeah.
I always say that.
An alternate universe.
You never know, though.
You never know.
I can say it.
Yeah. You never know. So you played through freshman year. Was your high school set up to where they had like a freshman team, JV varsity, or was it just JV varsity? How did it work?
So we were freshman JV varsity.
Okay.
Played freshman, and then I was kind of I wouldn't say a bad kid, but I wasn't, the most disciplined at the time. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get my grades together and had to sit out my sophomore year.
Dang.
Yeah, so I sat out sophomore year, but I also transferred schools. So when I transferred schools, I went to this new school, Mount Miguel. And so when I'm at Mount Miguel, I had transferred semesters. But the way Mount Miguel works is like their semester starts later than the school I was at. Okay. So the semester ended for the school I was at, but they were still in their first semester when I got to Mount Miguel. So my grades never started over. I went straight through.
Oh. So okay. Was that a good thing or a bad thing?
That was a terrible thing. Okay. Because my grade, that's the reason I transferred was because it was like, you know what, I'm not getting it done here. I need to go closer to home. Okay. I was just being a knucklehead. Yeah. And so I sat out sophomore year, man. Dang. But that was like devastating to me. Yeah. I was like, okay, I got to play football. Right. Mind you, I'd never, this was all new to me. I only played freshman year, and I only played 6 games. Dang. So, man, that junior year, I was on the JV team, and the varsity coach actually saw me on the JV, and he was like, hey, like, that kid's good. Like, we need
at
to
this point, you already got your height?
Oh, yeah, I'm about 5'11" and a half at this point. All right. Yeah, so like, I'm pretty tall. Right. Everyone thinks they're 6'4" in high school, but 5'10", like no. You're kind of tall. Yeah. So yeah, I was about 5'10", 5'11". Okay. And man, it was like I just kept growing. So that year I grew like 2 more inches, 3 more inches.
Is that the year that you started playing wide receiver?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So I played receiver that year because I was a corner. Same thing. I went there to be a corner, and when he saw me, he said, "Hey, I want you to play receiver." Okay. I'm like, And so I get out there, I'm making plays, and he's like, "Yep." And I mean, I was the 6th guy in the position. 6th.
Wow.
And ended up after, like, I won't call it training camp, but, like fall or summer workouts, I ended up starting.
Nice.
Yeah, so I started my whole junior year. That was a difficult year. Broke my wrist. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
It was so weird. And so I was just like, okay, man, like, and then going into my senior year, I was a starter. Whew, that was a rough year, like I dropped like 14 touchdowns as a senior.
Oh, dang.
Oh, man, it was bad.
Why? What'd you do that for?
I was scared. Like, I tell people all the time, like, I was legitimately nervous to catch the ball. But it was really only over the shoulder. Like, anything in front of me, I would catch it.
Okay.
But over the shoulder, it was like a fear of mine.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, I had never done it. So, I think for a while, it was just like, okay. And no one ever told me how to catch, right? So that was like, I mean, I played well, had 500 yards on like 30-some catches and 3 touchdowns, Had like a 200-yard game the last game of the season. So it was kind of like I started like coming into my own.
Right.
But it wasn't quite like I was ready, And so going into my freshman year of college, which I went to a junior college first.
Okay.
I had a coach that was like, man, how do you catch a ball? And I'm like, with your hands, duh. And he looks at me and he throws the ball at another guy. He's like, tell the guy, close your eyes. Guy closes his eyes. He throws the ball at him. And like, he's like, oh, why'd you do that? And he's like, you don't catch it with your hands. I'm like, well, what do you catch it with? And he's like, your eyes. He's like, if you can't see it, you can't catch it. And man, that like changed my whole life. Like my whole life was like, whoa. And I mean, man, from that year, I went on to lead the team in receiving yards and touchdowns. Well, no, not touchdowns. I had 15. I had 11. Okay. But I led the team in receiving yards, and man, it was like a revelation, right? Like, whoa, like if I just look it in, I can catch it. Right. So man,
you're like your Mr. Miyagi moment.
Yeah.
Like, dang.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
right?
that's pretty cool.
Man.
So you were in junior college. Did you transfer to like a Division I, Division II school, like when you played?
Yeah. So I went to a Division I AA.
Okay.
It's called Northwestern State, Louisiana.
Okay. When did you transfer over?
So in 2013, I transferred over. I should have went to Cal Berkeley.
Okay.
But like I said, like I was just a knucklehead growing up. So again, I get to a point where I'm in school and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to the NFL. Like forget school, and I realizing like you gotta play college ball, and just didn't do my work. I had my own apartment. Was living by myself, just living wild, and wasn't going to class, and so I had to sit out again. So, I know, lessons learned, right?
Right.
And when I sat out, man, it was like, okay, like you need to decide if this is what you want to do or if it's not. So I kind of, I got it together, had a 4.0 about from then on.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And it's not that school's hard, right?
Right.
Most people don't
So it
understand
was there. It was in you. It's not something that you struggle with. You were just making that conscious decision not.
Yeah, the application wasn't being put in.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Dang.
Dang. So I kind of like pushed myself back years, right? Just kept pushing myself back. That's what I tell a lot of people. Like, I wouldn't do it all over again, but I'm glad to have the testimony to tell my kids, like, hey, look at how long it took me to get into the NFL, right?
Right.
Like, you can be a 22-year-old in the NFL if you just do what it takes.
Right.
The necessary steps, take it seriously. So, I mean, Berkeley was on my mind. Like, I was.
And you just didn't have the grades to get there.
And like, I had a math class that I needed to transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And I finished that math class literally 2 days before I reported to camp at Northwestern State, which was, I think, August 19th. And I finished the class the 17th. Like, when you think about that, like every 1A school, every big time school is like, if you finish that class by May, we'll offer you a scholarship. And I'm like, all right, I can do it. I can do it.
Yeah.
No. I finished that class in August. So 3 months later, I'm finishing this class that I was expected to finish in May. So, it was a ride.
All right, so let's skip forward. So you went through college. So then you went into the CFL, and I know that because we've had many conversations before that.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, CFL is the Canadian Football League.
Yeah.
which I've heard rumors about a Canadian Football League, but I've never actually like seen a game or any. No, never.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. No, I thought it was ironic that they had a Canadian Football League because it's always like so cold. Like when do they play? Like they can't play in January. They can't play in December.
They play June until November.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, so it's a different time.
Definitely.
So do they have? Okay, so the NFL has a draft. Does CFL have a draft?
Yeah.
Same exact thing.
They only draft Canadians. So it's a literally Canadian draft. So it's their league, and they only draft Canadians. You could, some dual citizens. Some people have dual citizenship. So you'll see a lot of guys who are actually in the NFL get drafted in their league because, there's the likelihood like they may come back. So, so it's strictly Canadian and guys.
Well, from what I know about you, you're not Canadian, so how'd you make it in there?
Man. So they offer like workouts. So they do these like workouts every year, and they charge like $100.
Okay.
So mind you, I did like 5 of them.
Okay. So you're coming out of college, no offers, none.
Tore my labrum coming out of college.
You gotta stop getting hurt, man.
Man, I'm telling you, right? So, and it's weird because like this is only the second like major surgery I've ever had. Like, labor, it's like every 5 years or so like I have an injury, right?
Something.
Yeah. So it was like my wrist, which obviously didn't take long, and then my labrum obviously didn't take long. I came back actually in 4 months from that one.
Wow.
And that was 2014. So my wrist was in 2009. The labrum was in 2014,
and now 2019.
It's literally every 5 years.
So you got to start prepping.
I know, right? I think I'm pretty much good in that. And I got another 5 years before something else happens.
Yeah,
man. So no, but I worked out.
Okay.
So I worked out for a few teams, and oh my goodness, I almost gave it up.
Really?
Yeah, like I was done. You
did you see a future in football?
I did. I always did.
Right.
I never when I looked at my life, I was like, I'm going to be an NFL player. Like I can show you on my phone. I have notes from 2012, 2013, 2014, where I was writing like, next year I will be in the NFL, or this year I will be in the NFL. Like I still have notes in my phone from it, right? Where I have my goals, like be an NFL player. So it's always been something that I've always seen. Like even when I wasn't doing well, for some reason, I still believed I was going to the NFL.
Right.
And so, I mean, like, at that moment, it was like that defeat was like, man, like I've been trying this for so many years and like it's just not happening. And so I was done. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to school. And when I go to school, like, forget it. Like, I'm going to go to school, get a job, take care of my kids, move on with life. And actually my trainer down in San Diego, his name's Alex Johnson Jr. at Alex Johnson Sports and Fitness. Okay. He's a good friend of mine. Like, he's really like family. I've been working with him since junior college, but he really like talked me out of it to a degree. He called me one day and he was like, hey, I think you should do this last workout. I'm like, I'm at school. Like, so I'm in Louisiana, the workout's in LA. And I'm like, no, man, like I'm good. Like I'm done. He was like, no, you're not. And I was like, look, like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like this is a lot of strain on my family. Like, right. And like, man, mentally I'm just exhausted. Right. And he was just like, look, he said, I'm telling you, you go to this workout, you're going to get signed. I was like, nah, man, I don't know. Right. So I'm sitting there one day and this is like 3 weeks out and he calls me, like literally he's calling me. And so finally I was like, look, I'll go to the workout, like, and if it doesn't work out, like I'm done. And he was like, okay, but I'm telling you, you're going to get signed. So I'm like, all right, let's do it, And so, man, like I get to this workout and it was like I started the workout off like, okay, I was kind of like, Was it like a combine situation? They kind of do a combine, but the CFL is very like different. They do one-on-ones at their workouts. Okay. So like one-on-one with who? Receiver versus DB. Okay. Lineman versus, O-line versus D-line. Right. Yeah. So it's very competitive. Right. So it's not just run your 40, broad jump, vertical jump, 5, 10, 5. Right. No, I want to see if you're better than the guy in front of you. And do they do the other stuff as well? Yeah.
Okay.
So, oh man, I'm telling you, I went to one workout. We were there for not even a workout. My first camp, because like I said, they do one-on-ones. We were there for 4.5 hours one day, just doing straight one-on-ones and 7-on-7 and 11-on-11. It was like, what in the world is this?
So was this workout for the whole, because there's 8 teams in the CFL?
Yes, no, it's single team.
So single team workout.
They now do joint workouts.
Okay.
But at the time, it was just a single team workout.
Was this for Edmonton?
Yeah, this is for Edmonton.
And so you were with Edmonton your whole career?
My whole career.
So that was 3 years?
So 3 years, I got released my first year, actually. So that year, I actually still got released.
Really?
Crazy.
How far into the season?
Man, after training camp.
Dang.
So I had a hamstring tweak. I wouldn't even call it an injury, a hamstring tweak. I never sat out, not one day. So from that workout, I got signed. The GM actually was at that workout. And, I'm killing. And he stops the whole workout. And he brings me over, and I'm thinking, what did I do wrong, right? And he goes, what are you doing next week? And I had a test in class. And so I was going, back to school. And I was like, and I'm thinking to myself, I said, nothing. And he's like, he said, I want to invite you to minicamp. Can you be there? And I was like, thought about it for a second. I said, yeah, I'll be there. Just off faith, right? Pure faith. I'm like, God, you got to work it out, because that test, and I had a teacher who was strict, no missing tests. You have to be in class for it, all that. And so I'm thinking, man, I don't know how I'm going to talk my way out of this one. Man, I must have emailed that teacher. I gave him such a heartfelt email.
I'm begging from the bottom of my heart.
This is my life.
Yeah.
And man, as stern and hard as he was like, hey, I think this is a great opportunity. You should take it. And I'm taken aback. I'm like, God, so you must have something for me, right?
Right.
Man, I get to that training camp. I'm going hard. I'm thinking, I'm going to make this team. Have that hamstring tweak. And I'm on I'm on punt return. And man, I played the whole first half of the game. How they kind of do. If you're a starter, you play the first. So I was starting at the time. So I played the first half. I sat out the whole second half until the fourth quarter. Then they throw me in on punt return. Mind you, I said I had this hamstring tweak, so it was more I had to get my hammy warmed up before I could start running. Man, this dude ran past me so fast, and I was running, but I was kind of with a limp. Man, I'm thinking, okay, cool, right. But during the game, I'm a big team guy, so during the game, a guy jumps on the pile late, so I grab the guy and throw him off the pile. The coach thought the refs out there throw a flag on me. I'm thinking, why is so I thought no I'll trot to the sideline, and he starts cussing me out, and I'm like, whoa, I'm like, he was like, why'd you punch that guy? I'm like, punch a guy? I didn't punch nobody. He was like, you punched that guy, he's yelling at me, going in him, and mind you, the game's on ESPN, so ESPN zooms in on us, and so I talk with my hands. So I grabbed him, I threw him off. I didn't punch anybody. He goes, and the announcer goes, that's not good for a rookie arguing with a head coach.
Oh, dang.
And I'm like, but mind you, I don't hear that. But the next day, the guy, before this whole incident, he was in Bryant's corner, right?
Right.
Hey, because I was number 89. He was like, hey, 89, great job. He'd come tell me that consistently. Man, after that day, we were on the elevator together. And I'm like, hey, coach, how you doing? And he looks at the front of the elevator, doesn't say a word to me.
Dang.
I'm like, oh man. So I called my family after the game. I'm like, yeah, this might be it.
Yeah, this might be done.
Yeah. But man, he brings me up, we have team meeting. First play in team meeting is me getting burnt by that guy on punt return. And I'm looking what in the world? One play, right? And he goes, if this was your last play, or if this was the last play of your career, would you be satisfied? And I was like, no, sir. He's like, so why would you do this? And I'm looking at him and I can't make the excuse, oh, my hamstring hurts, right?
Right.
He's I'll be better. And he's like, yeah, you will be. In front of the whole team. And I'm thinking, call my family, and I'm yeah, so I might be coming home. And so, they released me. Yeah.
So what happened? Because obviously you played the next year.
Yeah, so they released me. The GM actually, he really liked me.
Okay.
They said that, he said, his name's Ed Hervey, actually. He's the new general manager for the BC Lions now down in Vancouver.
Okay.
And so he says, he's like, I really liked you. He said, it was the head coach that didn't want to keep you here.
Hmm.
So he was like, he was a new head coach, and, we went with what he wanted. He said, but I wanted you here.
Okay.
He said, so, would you come back? But I sat out that whole year.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked at a online school called Ashford University.
Okay, yeah. No, I know that one.
Oh, man.
Yeah. See their commercials all the time.
Yeah, right? So I was what they call an enrollment advisor.
Okay.
So I was enrolling people in school. It was crazy, man.
During your whole season?
The whole season. So I sat out that whole
So
year.
did they have a reason why they were sitting you out, or they just...
No. They cut me.
Okay, so this is what... You weren't signed at
No,
this
I
point.
wasn't
So you
signed
took
at this
a
point.
year off,
So
and you were working there, and then they called you back and said, hey, we want you back on the team.
So I was originally going to sign to Winnipeg.
Okay.
And the agent at the time, he was terrible. But he was like, yeah, Winnipeg wants to sign you. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to Winnipeg. They called me. They said they're sending your contract this weekend. Well, Edmonton calls, and they're like, hey, we want to bring him back, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, well, he's going to sign with Winnipeg. And they go, well, we'll send a contract today.
Dang.
And so they sent it.
So
Winnipeg was
two
still
CFL teams fighting over you.
not even, because Winnipeg said they were going to send it and never sent it.
Oh, okay.
Edmonton said we're going to send it, and it
They
came
sent it.
through.
Yeah.
So
they won because they got there first. Okay.
right.
Nice.
So I went back to Edmonton, man, and I was on a practice squad that year.
Okay.
So, but I had known it.
Yeah.
I played very well in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
It was just they have what they call a ratio rule in Canada. So a big difference from what we go through here. It's not a talent thing out there, right? It's like established Canadian.
Really?
Those are the guys that are going to play
So they have to have a certain amount of Canadians
on the field.
on the field. Okay.
Mhm. And so it was like, you may be better than someone, it could be a starter or a Canadian, but we, CFL doesn't make as much money. We paid that guy $150,000.
Right.
You're making rookie minimum,
Uh-huh.
right? But CFL, they've already paid that guy.
So they're going to use them.
They're going to use him.
Right.
'Cause, if not, they take a hit.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So
how would you describe your time in the CFL? You played 3 years.
fun.
It was fun.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Man. I had some great coaches.
Because your last year was, I saw your stats, and that's what made you
Yeah.
get looked at by NFL teams.
Yeah. So I honestly had a coach, Carson Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
Man, at the time, it felt like we were always clashing. I'm a real smiley guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a real disciplined guy. So it's not that I'm not disciplined. It was always just I'm not one of those when you're yelling at me, I'm flustered and no. And so I always felt like he didn't like me, but what it was he always saw what I could be. So he always pushed me more and more and more. I could do great, and sometimes you do well and you get on your high horse and it's and it was always it wasn't good enough.
So he could see who you,
Oh, yeah.
the potential you had in you, even though you couldn't see it in yourself.
I truly believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's with the Philadelphia Eagles now.
Is he really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which coach?
He's the receivers coach.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
So, man, the man really pushed me. And so I feel like what I learned from him moving on and on, he left in 2017, so I didn't have him my last year that I just played. But I think that just being that discipline that he taught me, I was able to, translate that to the field and, man, led the league the last 9.5 weeks of the season. So,
Wow.
Yeah, because I didn't play the first, 4 games, something like that.
Yeah.
Due to a hamstring.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, they played me, they benched me. They played me, they benched me. It was like come on.
Right.
And then I went off one game. And I'm like, okay, now they gotta play me.
Right.
And they benched me. I was like,
Was it the ratio?
to an extent.
Okay.
We had a veteran receiver who, like I said, that when that money gets spent, and we had a couple of veteran receivers, excuse me, and he actually got hurt as well. So when it was time to come back, who are you gonna bring back?
Gotcha.
Right. So he played, and so I think that with his injury, I don't think he gave it enough time. So eventually it was like, okay, we got to get Bryant on the field somehow. So I was going to be the punt returner.
Okay.
Right.
Be on special teams.
Oh, yeah.
There, yeah. Okay.
Because they're like, we have to get this kid on the field.
Right.
And then they were going to make packages for me and things like that. Well, one of our star receivers actually went down.
Okay.
Which, sad day. And my opportunity came. So it was like, and then, like they say, once your opportunity comes, you can't look back.
Yeah, you got to take it.
And so, man, I had a 100-yard game just about every game.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the lowest game I had was like 94 yards.
Okay.
Something like
Dang,
that. Oh, yeah,
dude.
man, it was crazy.
Dang.
I was like, God,
Killing
you're
it.
really working.
Yeah.
And there's something I prayed about.
Right.
Definitely prayed
Yeah.
constantly about it. And, like, man, when it happened, obviously, like I said, I felt bad for him. But I also took that opportunity and said, you know what? Like, this is my time.
Right.
God is saying, hey, like, you want it? Not go handle it. And,
Right.
man, it was fun.
I bet.
It was fun.
So coming out of the CFL into the NFL, what's the biggest difference between those two leagues?
Honestly, I would just say field size.
That's it.
Yeah, like
What about talent?
man, you'd be shocked. The CFL's got some talent.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys have come from the NFL.
Okay.
A lot of so the only disparity would be the Canadians to Americans got, sad to say, but
Yeah.
it's, not.
They're hockey players.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly what I was just about
Yeah.
to say. I mean, man, like that's what they live and breathe out there.
Right.
Kids are taught to play hockey, not football.
Right.
So that's the biggest difference you see is the Canadian talent to the American talent.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to that American talent, you're like, man, like,
Yeah.
like.
And it
these
sounds
guys
like
are
you can
good.
have a solid career out there,
Oh,
even though it's not,
definitely.
it's an established league and
Yeah.
they pay decent salaries. And it doesn't sound like they're signing like multi-million-dollar contracts, but
They did
most guys
last year, but yeah.
really in the CFL.
Because they had a CBA.
Okay.
Right? They had a whole CBA change, and there's a couple quarterbacks that cashed out. You're not going to cash out as a receiver or anything in terms of the millions, but there's a receiver right now making 300, so
Dang.
you can't
Yeah.
beat that.
Yeah.
So I'll take that any day.
Yeah, exactly. So again, there's you're transitioning from CFL to NFL, and what has that process been like?
It's honestly been a blessing, man.
Yeah. Obviously, the fields are much bigger,
Yeah,
stadiums.
You'd be surprised.
Really?
Yeah. So I thought, we're playing in front of hundreds of thousands here. It's
Well,
not at all. Like,
especially not in the Bucs stadium.
definitely not in our
Yeah,
stadium, right?
yeah.
So I'm like, when I get here, I'm looking around, like, man, even when we were playing at Heinz Field, against the Steelers, I'm looking around, it's packed, but it's not like what I expected.
Right.
There were some games in the CFL, like Winnipeg Stadium, man, their fans come out. Saskatchewan Stadium,
Yeah.
their fans come out.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost like a college game.
Woo!
Yeah.
Saskatchewan is like, man,
Yeah.
that's been like the worst place to play for me. I was like, dude, like I couldn't hear myself think.
Dang.
It was that
Yeah.
loud.
It's a college game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all they have in their city. So
There's nothing better to do.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. So, you're in the NFL now. You reached your goal.
Yeah.
What's life been like in the NFL? Like, there's very few people that make it.
Yeah, man.
You know?
It's been a learning process.
Yeah.
So what I tell a lot of people, you think when you get here it'll make you happy, right? But I really had to learn, man, like the fulfillment for me came from God. So like when I got here I was like, okay, I'm here. But nothing changed. And I was like, oh, all these years of trying to get here, you just think it's gonna be some big right? And it was really like, man, this is really the same.
Almost like a disappointment?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Definitely not at all. Come on now, I'm at the pinnacle
Yeah. Yeah.
of what success is to
Right.
the average person.
Right.
But when you get here, and even thinking of life, everyone thinks, oh, the more money I make,
Well, yeah.
the more success that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to realize you're going to be the same person with $1 million
Mm-hmm.
or, being the number one receiver on the team. You're going to be the same person. So it's what is going to fulfill you? What's going to satisfy you, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I had to realize, man, it really comes from God, because when you're low and you're praying to God, it's you feel that true need, right?
Mm.
But when you start to get up and you start to feel like you're doing it on your own, you start to realize, man, as much as I think that this is me, like I really have to give God the glory, because I start to see like the steps it took me to get here.
Gotcha.
I'm like, there's no way this could have happened,
Yeah.
through just me alone.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think, happiness is found internally, not externally. I mean, there's plenty of times that you try to, but I think also as an athlete, you're always trying to better yourself.
Definitely.
You're never complacent with where you are. You never are like, I made it. You know?
I guess like, and I mean, you're 100% right. Like every day I'm like, okay, how can I be better for tomorrow? Or how can I be better, right? Even in my rehab right now.
Yeah.
How can I, get better? But like, man, like I guess it's just that what do you do when you've reached what if you tell yourself, okay, I want to make $10 million, and then you get $10 million and $1, and you're like, okay, now what? I want to make $20 million, right?
Exactly.
It's never, but it's like you think that you're going to just have that, I made $10 million. Then you're like, no, like I made $10 million, but what happens in 7 years if I spend this 10 minutes? Like now, I gotta keep going.
Yeah.
So I
one
think
of the things I do now is, instead of visualizing like I want to make X amount of dollars, I visualize what my ideal life. What does my ideal day look like? And so whatever that ideal day looks like is what I'm going to work towards. And so that's it's a great motivation, because it is really difficult to like, what is the number? What is that number that makes you happy? Is it $1 million? Is it $10 million? Is it $50 million? $500,000? Like, what is it? And so really visualizing like what my ideal day looks like and working every day to have that ideal day is, I think, a much better place to be.
I like that. Because I mean, for me, like, it's like, what did I accomplish today? Right.
Right.
And so I wake up, make my bed. It's the first accomplishment of the day.
Yeah.
But then it's like, what other steps are you taking? Like you're saying, like, to really fulfill whatever it is that you set out to fulfill that day.
Right.
And if you're not truly like having a benchmarker or, steps to get to where you're trying to go, like, I mean, the day is wasted,
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why goals are important. You need a true north. You need to know where you're going.
Yeah.
Because without that, you're wandering. It's you have to have that clearly defined as far as like what you want to accomplish in life.
Bible says where there's no vision, the people perish.
Yeah.
So I definitely believe it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this season. You're playing in the preseason, and that 5-year mark hits, and you get an injury.
Yeah.
I know people can't see it, but you got a boot on,
big one too.
Yeah, and you had an Achilles injury.
I mean, the training camp, even OTAs, it was fun.
Yeah.
Like, realizing like I can do this, because like I said, when you get to the point of this, like, it's like, they got to be so good out there. Like, you're just thinking to yourself like, oh, these guys just got to be different.
Right.
Like, this is the NFL.
Right.
It's the same. Like, it's
same
the same
level.
thing. It's football.
Yeah.
And so when I started to realize that and start to go forth, it was like, man, I can really do this. And so we get to that preseason game, and like it felt like I was in Canada all over again.
Really?
In terms of just that confidence and that, that feeling of just like, oh yeah, I'm about to ball.
Okay.
Like
nice.
once that clicks, it's
dude,
like,
I love that. That's awesome.
That zone. It's
like,
woo. So man, I get in the game and I get my first pass and I make a guy miss just like old time. I'm like, oh, this is gonna get scary.
Right.
And so, man, I catch a few more passes, like leading us into the 2-minute drill. I call like 3 or 4 passes. I'm like, ooh, like, hey, let's go.
Yeah.
And so coming out of halftime, man, like Ryan Griffin, who was the quarter, he and I, we worked out in San Diego together. So like we kind of had a feel for each other. So I knew like every time I get out there with a quarterback that I know, it's like, I know where the ball's going.
Yeah.
When I was with Mike Riley in Edmonton, man, I could just literally, I can look at a defense, know the play, and I'm like, oh, the ball's coming to me.
Yeah.
And so it was the same thing.
That's awesome. That quickly, too.
Oh, that quick.
Wow.
But sometimes you can just, it's not even so much of, they talk about the chemistry, but sometimes you can just feel how confident he is in you. And if I know you're confident in me, how can I not be confident in myself, right?
Right.
When someone else believes in me. So I'm like, oh, okay, great. So you kind of get to see like, oh, like in practice, this is what happened. You know, you kind of, and I mean, don't believe me, it's a long process of like years built up. But man, at this point, it's like, oh, cover 2, like, you know, oh, okay, the ball's coming here. Like, oh, okay, they're going to 3. I'm getting this curl. Okay. You know, like things like that.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, it's fun. Yeah. And so, man, coming out of halftime, we run a screenplay, and I'm like, ooh, I'm about to go for 6. Yeah. I catch the ball, man. I just feel like this pop. And I was like, Felt like, you know, that game when someone comes behind you, tries to trip you.
Oh, okay, yeah,
and
yeah.
your feet kind of click together. Right. That's what it feels like.
Really?
So I was like, and I kind of froze for a second. I'm taking a step, and I'm like, it feels like somebody kicked me in the back of the leg. I was like, oh, that's my Achilles. Because I've heard that story so many times.
Right. Well, it's so common.
Right. They're always like, oh, it feels like you get kicked in the back of the leg, or like, you know. Like,
was there like immediate pain?
I had no pain at all.
Interesting. So did you stop running? Like, what did you?
So I took another step, and my foot went flat. So when my foot went flat, I was like, oh, and I just dropped on the floor. Right. And so I'm sitting there like, oh my God. I'm like, you know, and it was crazy. Like I was telling the trainer this, Bobby, I was like, man, like, it was like he like leans over me and he's speaking and like honestly I heard, you're gonna be all right, kid. And it was like, I promise you, it's like he was moved out the way, and it was like God was speaking to me directly, like, hey, I'm gonna get the glory. Because at first, you know, I was devastated. Like initially, right away, I was devastated. I was like, dude, this is like my season. Like I was about to have a 1,000-yard season in the NFL. You know, as a competitor, you're always thinking the highest. But like I said, like it was like God was like, hey, I'm gonna get the glory. And I was like, you know what? Like, how can I complain about, you know, even this happening when he's brought me this far, and whatever's gonna happen, he's gonna take me to wherever I'm supposed to be. Like I've always been put in the position that I'm supposed to be in. Right. So I was like, okay. And like I get up off the field, and I like kind of get to the cart, I sit on the cart, and like for a second I was just like, man, just thinking about my season, you know, and like what could have been. And I was like, no, I'm gonna smile through this. Like I smile through everything else, I'm gonna smile through this. Yeah. So I give my little thumbs up, you know, it's just a little pity thumbs up. And after that, man, I get in the locker room, I call my family, and I'm like laughing because like, and they're looking at me like, oh my gosh, you know, you just, and I'm like, no, like God's got it. And they're looking at me like, what? Right. You know? And it's like, no, like seriously, like he told me, like, I got you. I'm like, you know what? Like, it's going to be all right. And so, you know.
I mean, one of the things that's just, stuck out to me, even when I initially spoke with Dane about you, you know, and we had conversation, and he just said that no matter what is thrown Bryant's way, he just, you know, he has such a great attitude. He's just such a great individual and person. And I
appreciate that. Thanks, Dane.
Thanks, Dane. Dane's a great guy, too.
Great guy.
But, you know, I think that makes a difference. Yeah. You know, I think where your mindset is in any scenario, because, I mean, there have been plenty of times, plenty of injuries in your life that people would have given up. Be like, I guess I'm not supposed to do this, you know, and just kind of let it stop them. But it sounds like, literally, you're 27?
Yeah, 27.
You're 27 years old. You know, you've been working towards this goal since you were 5. 5. You think about that. And one of your first preseason games, you get injured. You know, and like most people would have just been like, you know, just throwing themselves a pity party. Yeah. And you're still working your ass off.
The whole woe is me, huh?
Yeah, no, you're smiling through the injury. Yeah. I don't know if you know how unique that is.
You know, but it's like I said, like, man, without God, I wouldn't be able to, right? Yeah. Because I understand, like, man, like, I don't play this game for me. You know, I have 3 little boys. You know, like, at some point I got to stop. Yeah. They're going to be playing, or they're going to be doing whatever they want to in life. And if I take the steps to go that way and be, you know, down on myself and always bummed out and, you know, throwing things at the wall because something like this happened, like, what am I teaching them? Yeah. You know, how can I tell you, or how can I witness to someone and tell them about God and what he's done for me if when something like this happens, I throw a fit. Yeah. Oh, you know, God, it's all your fault. No, like, I have to have that same mindset that he did, right? Yeah. When he got up on that cross, it wasn't like, like, oh, like I gotta do this. No,
Yeah.
it was like, hey, you know, like he was gonna suffer it, right? I know a lot of us, we would have got thrown on that cross. Would have been like, oh, hey, hold on, hold on, throw down, you know, legions of angels. Like,
Right.
But no, man, I really have truly like come to a point in my life where it was like, man, like God, you have to take control. You know, believe me, when I tore my labrum, that for me was like I was in the tank.
That's a painful injury.
That one hurt.
Yeah.
Like that one hurt.
Yeah.
And even like recovery hurt. This one, I haven't had any pain, period.
Wow.
It's like from it tearing to surgery to now, like no pain. That there, I was like, oh, okay. Look, I couldn't sleep. I'd have to sleep like sitting up. I'd wake up and like agony. I'm like, you know what? Just take the arm.
Yeah, just take the arm. I want it gone. Like, no arm would be better.
Yeah, right. Oh man, I'm glad he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It was like, you know, and then I think learning from that.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't learn obviously with my grades the first 2 times.
All right.
But
Well, sometimes it takes us a couple times, you know,
learn
put
to
that hand on the burner to be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that.
it was hot.
Yeah.
Let's try that again, right? Like, no, like this time it was like, okay,
Yeah.
like how are you going to handle this situation?
Right.
You know, so
I love that mindset. And I
man.
have a lot of respect for it,
I
man.
appreciate that.
You're definitely somebody that practices what you preach.
Thank you.
And I love that. So now you're going through recovery, and you're still every day at the Bucs, keeping yourself present, because you said, you know, you kind of have the option, you know, when especially when you're out for an injury, to kind of stay home, slack off. And you told me, you're like, I will be at every meeting, every practice. I will stay late. I will do everything I can. You know, you were saying that, you know, they do a lot of charitable events, and you're a part of every single one.
Yeah.
I think that's really good.
Yeah.
You're keeping yourself involved in the organization, even though you're not exactly playing right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, for a lot of younger guys too, it shows them too, like, hey, like this is our life, right?
Yeah.
Like, what else would you be doing? Like,
Yeah.
That's the question. Like, I could be sitting at home, getting into trouble?
Yeah.
You know, like as a young kid growing up, like, you know, getting involved in gangs and stuff like that. It was like, you know, I had to really make a conscious decision of which way I was going to go. You know, and even now, it's like, what would I be doing sitting at home right now? I wouldn't be working out daily, you know. I'd probably be on the couch. I mean, I play 2K every day now, but you know, I'd probably be playing 2K.
There's a time for that,
right?
you know.
Like,
there's time for
my
that.
leisure time.
Right, exactly.
But I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, you know. And so to keep my mind in it, to keep my body in it, and even like I love giving back, you know. I know like all I wanted as a kid was for someone to come and just say, hey, like it's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
You know, and even if an NFL player was to do it, it's like that may change someone's life.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm on a platform for a reason. So it's like, hey, like I'm gonna utilize it.
Yeah.
Like you guys kept me here. They put me on IR, right? They didn't have to.
Right.
But they put me on IR. It's like, okay, hey, like I'm gonna show you I want to be here.
Right.
You know, and at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you know, hopefully I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's the biggest stress factor for any sort of NFL player, especially when you got an injury. You got to be thinking in the back of your head, like even, you know, I had, you know, a couple plays to prove myself in the preseason, but you just never know.
You don't.
You just never know.
They could draft 3 receivers next year.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know.
But you know what? You're capitalizing on your time with the team. And,
Exactly.
you know, it sounds like even with your reputation that you've built up in the NFL amongst the coaching staffs that you've been a part of,
Oh, yeah.
they want you. They want you.
Yeah,
They want you a part of their organization. So that's, I mean, going back to being a part of any sort of like NFL team organization, what does a daily routine look like for you guys? You know, getting more into like, you know, we went through the philosophical stuff and the mindset.
Yes.
I love that. Now I want to get into the nitty gritty details of like, what are workouts looking like? What do they got you eating? You know, what is your daily regimen as an NFL player?
So like, you know, for most of us, like I'm up at 5 a.m.
Okay.
You know, just about every day I get into my prayer, and then like I'm at the facility by like 6:15.
Okay.
And then I, you know, so you'll do like whatever treatment or whatever like prepping you have to do to get your body ready for the day. And then we're going to meetings. We're in meetings from like 8 a.m. till about almost 10.
What are you guys doing in the meetings?
So in the meetings, we go through offensive, defensive, and special teams. So it'll be a breakdown of like, okay, here's what we're doing this week. We might game plan. Hey, this is the team we're playing. This is the guys that they have. This is what, you know, how we're going to scheme them. Okay. Then we're moving on to, you know, how he wants things to look. this is special teams. And then after we're going through how he wants things to look, we're coming back and we're saying, okay, now, we're going to go out here today at practice. These are your plays. Remember these for today. And you're like, okay, so I got, look at 5-6 plays of special teams to remember for that day. Okay, great. Now that's out the way. Then we go into offensive meetings. So just dialing back a little bit, we'll start with our team meeting. Coach will talk about, the game. He'll talk about the game ahead and the game that we just played.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you could recap, I'm sure, the game previous.
So depending on, it was a great day yesterday, believe me, for meetings.
I'm sure.
After a great win.
Yeah.
But, yeah, depending on, and, he goes through all of that, and then he breaks us up. And then now we're in offense and defense. For me, it's offense. Well, in offensive meetings, we'll go same thing. We'll go through a recap, a more in-depth recap. Hey, this is what you should have done on this play. We executed here. We didn't execute here. This was our percentage of completions, our percentage of runs. Got all that.
So
down.
Just get into the really finite details.
Yes.
And that's basically the meeting. And so prepping. Recapping, prepping for the game ahead, because obviously, I mean, every defense and offense is different for every organization. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the same plays that you ran against the Steelers aren't going to work against the Patriots.
Not at all.
So it has to be this weekly drilling of. So are you meeting every single morning?
Yes.
Prepping all the way up till Sunday.
Yeah. So as a receiver group, we meet. So team meetings normally at 8 every day.
Okay.
As a receiver group, we meet at 7:30 on Wednesdays and Fridays to just get in more of what we need. And on Fridays for receivers, it's like, okay, we get in at 7:30. We're breaking down the DBs that we're about to play. We're also, we do what we call word of the day in our meeting group. And then he goes through the film. Hey, this is the look that we're hoping to run this play on, because we do an install every day.
So are you pulling film from other teams or from your and seeing
teams.
Like plays that worked against this defense?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
So if say they ran a cover 2, right, or say they ran cover 4, and we're like, hey, we're gonna beat this cover 4 by it's a basic cover 4 beater. It's a post and a dig. Like that would be something. And this is the look, and he'll bring up the look, and when we see the look, it's like, okay.
What do you mean by the look?
So the look would be when they get into cover 4, we have a percentage breakdown. Hey, 90% of their defense is cover 4.
Gotcha.
Right? So, okay, if 90% of their defense is cover 4, we know that at some point where you have to get cover 4. So when we call this play and you see the safety do this and you see this corner do that and you see this linebacker buzz out, right? It's like, hey, know that we want you to take this thing high because we're trying to high-low that safety. We want the safety either come down or, go high. If he takes the high post, we're going to the dig underneath because they have no help under there.
Right.
And if he sucks in on that, we're going over the top because that corner's playing outside leverage. Right?
I think that's one of the things that I don't think a lot of people appreciate about football players in general is the amount of strategy that goes into playing the game. It's not all muscle. There is physical aspects, obviously, but for the most part, there's a lot of strategy behind it. And just even hearing you explain all this like song and dance between you guys and your opponents, like it's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool.
Someone that you should really you get the chance to listen to. There's some DBs, Richard Sherman, Jalen Ramsey, as a receiver, Doug Baldwin. There's like videos on YouTube of them breaking down why they did what they did, what they saw.
Yeah.
How
and they have to make these decisions like that.
And
yeah.
Not even a second, right? So all of this is coming fast, and I think a lot of people, like you said, think it's just brute strength and muscle. Man, this game is mental.
Right.
We say it all the time. It's 90% mental because, I mean, you think if you're banged up, right, your leg hurts, how many people do you think are going to go out there and want to, take another hit?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, people don't appreciate how most people have not been tackled by a 350-pound guy.
No, not at all. And it doesn't feel good.
It does not feel good.
Not at all.
And I've never been tackled by a 350-pound person, but I can't imagine it feels very good. No, and the fact that you get up and do it again.
And again.
And again.
And again.
Yeah.
And again. And not only that, then you got to remember your plays.
Yeah.
You got to see what defense they're in.
And you're doing it in front of hundreds of, 100,000 people, 80,000 people, whatever it may be.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, that's what you get paid the big bucks for.
That's why we get paid the big bucks.
You got to be able to handle all of that at the same time.
Exactly.
Well, I love that. So you do your strategy, a lot of time on strategy, and then you're going into like the actual practicing of the plays and the strategy that you have for the weekend ahead. Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing they set you guys up with nutritionists. They're feeding you guys. What is obviously it has to be different for every player. They want to keep you lean and mean, so they're going to give you a different diet as opposed to a lineman who just literally feed him all the calories,
exactly,
all the food you need to eat.
Well, I think we do have a nutritionist. Her name is Miss Stephanie. She's great too, right? But I think what a lot of people think is like what we get done, like, okay, Bryant has this, and Mike has this.
Okay.
And Chris has no. It's more like, okay, hey, you need to eat this in terms of like you need this much calories, this much fat, this much,
Okay. So
carbs.
they're giving you like the macros, but they're not giving you the specific diet.
No,
okay.
No.
Hey, that's yeah. You're an adult. You got it.
Exactly, right? So it's never a case of, hey, you have to eat, X, Y, and Z. No, it's like, hey, you have an assortment of things. You pick out of these things what you're going to eat, and if it's not working for you, let's switch it up.
Do they promote certain diets? Or is it mainly just like a balanced diet?
Yeah, it's more balanced. Some people have like smoothies after practice.
Okay. Like recovery smoothies, high in protein, fats, that kind of stuff. Okay.
Depending on who you are. Some guys sweat a lot, so they have like hydration smoothies.
Okay.
So like, they do a great job. And then we have snacks all
the time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the best parts of the NFL is the food. It's like everything's free, right?
So yeah, you were telling me the other day, like, that the food is different at every organization. Yeah. Sometimes it's a little better at one organization than the other. Not to name names or anything like that. Names, but yeah, no, I mean, I think it's crucial. I love that they set you up with the guidelines, but leave it really on you. Mm-hmm. When are you guys actually lifting weights?
So we have like different lift days. So like yesterday, since we're not off, but we're off technically, so we come in to review film on Mondays.
Okay.
Right. So in the morning, depending on what time we've gotten in the night before, it's like, okay, hey, the weight room will be open from this hour to this hour. We want, skills at this point, skill being like, receivers, tight ends, corners,
gotcha.
Skill positions at this point.
Okay.
Bigs like O-line, D-line at this point, right? Quarterbacks at this time.
Okay, so they just kind of change you guys out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we'll have like slotted times, and they want you in there at that time.
Okay.
Right? And then today is our off day. Normally Tuesdays are always going to be an off day for us. So on Tuesday, it's like, hey, the weight room opens at 8 till 12. You come in whenever you want to.
Okay.
So from 8 to 12, like I'm an early bird, so I'm like, hey, I'm gonna get in first, knock it out. And then throughout that, I do my treatment, and now Tuesday's all the way off, right? So Wednesday may be like a before or after practice type lift.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
And then like they'll have recovery days, like so they really structure it to where it benefits us. They want us to peak at the right time. So it's not just lift. It's like, okay, hey, Mondays we may lift. Tuesday, you can come in and get a lift. Wednesday it's a little, in the middle. Thursday's a little lighter. Friday's a little lighter. And then you're going.
I would think for some of you guys though, they would want a requirement of lifting, like
so
for
practice roster.
Yeah.
Some of the guys who are active but aren't playing, like
right.
The differences, right?
Okay.
You are required to lift, but I mean,
But it's on you. I mean,
yeah.
This is the NFL. It's highly competitive. If you're not keeping up with your stuff, they'll just cut you.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I like that there's a lot of personal responsibility on you guys as well to maintain, your physique, your nutrition. That was one thing I talked to Jeff Driscoll about. He just was like, his first season after being quarterback with the Bengals, he's like, I got done, and they're like, all right, see you next season. And he's like, you're not gonna set me up with a trainer? Like, where do I live? Like, it's just like you're coming out of college where everything's just kind of taken care of you for you. And now it's like, no, you're responsible in the off season to maintain your physique and maintain your discipline and nutrition and all that. So that way your peak performance when you come back for OTAs, like it's, I like that though. I like that. No, I think that's good. I think that I'm a firm believer in personal responsibility. I think that you need to be working just as hard when people are looking as when they're not, And so I think that's really important. I think it's a good lesson for anybody to learn.
I do too. that shows you your true character, right?
Exactly.
If I'm gonna work hard in front of you,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it in front of myself, right? So me and my best friend Brandon Zylstra, he actually plays for the Panthers.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, he was with the Vikings. He just signed with the Panthers this year. But one of my closest friends. But that's one thing we always do. Like when we're working out, like if the rep set, if it says 3 sets of 10, like the last set, we always do 11.
I like that.
Or 12.
Just
right?
one more.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we say, if everyone else is doing 3 sets of 10, I don't want to be as good as everyone else. I want to be better.
Right.
So we always go that extra mile and do one more. Right. So
I love that.
Oh yeah.
David, David Goggins is?
Yeah, actually. Yeah. He's the
ultra
military
marathon
guy.
Yeah, ultra marathon runner.
Yeah.
His first 100-mile race that he didn't train for at all.
Yeah.
He ran 101 miles. 101 miles just to make sure that he finished it.
Isn't that something?
It's wild. And you hear the story of, his mental struggle through that 100 miles when you have no training. He's never trained for a marathon, let alone a 100-mile ultra marathon. And to hear him say he ran an extra mile just to be sure that he finished it. It's a mindset that it's beneficial to anybody.
Call that, right?
What's that?
Mamba mentality.
There it is. I like that. I like that a
Gotta
lot.
have the Mamba.
Yeah. So last question, because we got to wrap this thing up.
No worries.
One of the questions I always ask people that come on the podcast is if there was a way for you to get one message out to the world. You're on a huge platform right now. You're on the NFL. If you had one message to tell, people that look up to you, the kids that are coming up behind you, take the time to think about it. But what is that message?
Oh, I can tell you.
Tell me.
Put your faith in God.
Okay.
Like on your own, you can do nothing. And like, I'm a firm believer in that because I feel like I tried. And when I would always fall on my face, it was like I was always back on my knees like, God, I need your help.
Yeah. And
then I'd go out and try to do it again on my own. And it was like, man, like when I really realized, like, man, if I put my faith in God, and not like man, I'm a man. Like I can only go so far in life. But with him, like I'm telling you, he's taken me to places that I never would have imagined to be. Most people look at my story and they're like, oh, you went from here to here to here to here, and now you're in the NFL. And it's like, when I tell you I woke up one morning and I was tired of living the life that I was controlling, I was like, hey, God, have your way. Okay. Like, you have to do it.
Yeah.
So I always tell anyone I meet, man, put your faith in God. Like
just have something to believe in, something bigger than yourself.
Something bigger than yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, like you'll start to realize slowly, like, I always hear people like, oh, well, I believe in God, okay. And then like when things go wrong, it's like, help me, God. Like, right. Jesus, help me.
Right.
And it's like, man, like, why not just stay in that at that point in your life where, hey, like, okay, this is getting hard. Hey, God, I need your help.
Yeah. Well,
and eventually, like one of my favorite scriptures, pray without ceasing, and it's like, man, as much as I can pray, like it's just like I come out of prayer like feeling like a lion, man. I'm powerful after that.
Yeah.
Right? I might go in like a little cub.
Right.
I come out so powerful, man. So honestly, I tell people all the time, man, put your faith in God.
Yeah. Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing what you're doing because you leave a mark with anybody that interacts with you. And so thank you so much for being on the podcast. I had a blast talking with you.
Me too.
Yeah.
This is great.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.